The most annoying things about living in Houston, Texas, part two from a native Houstonian. My name's Mariam Hejazi. I've been helping people buy and sell residential real estate for over 12 years, and I have been loving Houston since 1987. Let's get into it. So I hope you watched part one, but just to recap, I surveyed all of my friends that are also native Houstonians, and I surveyed my clients that I have helped move from other cities in Texas to Houston and or out of state or out of country. And these are the things that they have said annoyed them when they moved to Houston. So this is part two. A part one recap was allergies, summer heat, humidity, lack of mountains and beautiful geographic features, hurricanes, mosquitoes and ants, and pollution. Now, this portion, so property taxes and higher cost of living in relation to other southern locations. So, Texas has a property tax. We do not have a state income tax, which, Lord, thank you. But we do have property taxes. So this affects you if you own property. Duh. Uh, as a general statement, Harris County, their average tax rate is 2.53%, with the older pockets of town varying from anywhere from like 1.9 to 2.01 or 2.03. I live in a portion of town that was developed in the mid 1950s. So my tax rate is a little bit lower. I'm 2.01, but if I lived a little bit further north, I would be paying, I guess if I lived in West U, I'd be paying 1.7 or 1.9 tax rate. But West U is older than the south part of Houston. But if I lived a little bit north, I would be paying a 2.53 tax rate. Some of the villages are grandfathered in at a 1.7% tax rate. And the reason these areas are lower is because these portions of Houston were developed much earlier than obviously the rest of it. So West U was developed in the 30s and the 40s. The villages would have been developed in the 1950s to about the 1970s. Bel Air is a little bit old. It's like the 60s-ish. I live in a mid-50s development. All my pocket of town was developed between about 1953 to around 1967. Usually the older the community, the lower the tax rate. And we do see this hold true because as you like go out, because remember, Houston looks like a bullseye. So as we go out on the bullseye, for example, Summerwood, their tax rate is like, I think it's 3.36 or 3.63 or something. It's absolutely absurd. Now, if you live in Summerwood and you want to get out of that high tax rate, call me and I will get you out. But it does have to be what you want in property. If property tax is something that really makes your blood boil, then you need to concentrate on buying in an area that has as lowest tax rate as you can possibly find. And then when you do acquire said property, it should be your mission to get your tax appraised value as low as possible. And you can do this by protesting once a year your taxable value. Each year, the Harris County Appraisal District will send you notice of your new appraised value. And as a citizen, you have the right to protest your taxes. So number one in this video was property taxes. It does surprise people, especially if they're not from Texas. It's very surprising. And I've only lived in Houston my entire life, except when I went away to school. So property tax is kind of a way of life for us. I know there are states that don't have property tax, but they have a state income tax. I personally, I guess not knowing any other way, I would prefer a property tax because it's attached to more of a fixed value in my day-to-day life rather than my income because income can go up which you'll owe even more to the state and you will owe even more to the federal government the more and more successful you become. So you really just have to pick your poison with taxes. Number two, this is one I've never heard before, but this is feedback that I got, so I'm going to share this with you, is the high cost of country clubs. So we do have a collection of country clubs like the River Oaks Country Club, the Houstonian, there's Houston Country Club or HCC. I am not a member of any of these country clubs, and there are a couple social clubs as well that are in some high rises here in Houston. But I'm hearing that there are really high initiation fees, anywhere from $20 to $100,000 or more. And you do have to get referrals from current members in order to be eligible for membership. I think there's definitely an interview process. And then once you satisfy this initiation fee, then of course there's an ongoing monthly membership fee. This is not feedback that I hear from most people, but I thought it was interesting. And the person that gave me this feedback is actually a native Houstonian. So it's feedback from a very reliable and trusted source. So I just thought I'd let you know. And if you're looking for country clubs, we have many wonderful clubs to choose from in the loop and just slightly outside of the loop. Okay, three. Tear down culture. This is something that I have referenced in a couple other videos. We have tear down culture in Houston, and it is definitely a source of sadness and frustration and lament for myself. I am an active member in Preservation Houston, and our mission is to bring awareness to preserving what's already there and to help property owners get a historic designation. I also regularly attend the Houston Archaeological and Historical Commission meetings, HARC, I think. I'm very interested and very passionate about saving beautiful old buildings, but by and large, Houston development culture loves to just knock it down. They love to just bulldoze it with they get their tractor with their big crane thing and then just go. It's it's the saddest thing you have ever seen. Some beautiful, beautiful mid-century properties on the west side of town were demoed years ago. There's this great mid-century modern website called Houston Mod, and you can go into the historical records and see pictures of these just exquisite, sprawling mid-century structures that have been torn down and McMansions have been put there. Uh, it's hard for me to like really complain also because I happen to be in the business of progress, but I would love it if we could just tone it down on the tear down culture. That would be great. I heard this feedback from at least three people I surveyed. Uh, and I can definitely agree. And I'm definitely an old homes enthusiast. I really specialize in houses built before 1970 because they have lots of problems and old problems, but they are very, very well built structures with very solid and high quality materials and a high quality of craftsmanship. And you can fix things all day long, but it's great to fix things on a quality structure rather than fix things on something that will blow down in a bad storm. Okay, so next is traffic and road rage. So I heard traffic from many, many, many people that I surveyed, and several people said the road rage is noticeably high here in Houston. I think I can attest to that, but I also will tell you that as a native Houstonian, I have places to be and people to see, and I drive and walk with a purpose, and I do use my horn. I do, but I also use my blinker, and I also mostly stop at stop signs, but I merge politely. I'll say that I'm a pretty characteristic Houston driver, but there are people that are absolutely unhinged. I have had people have outward signs of road rage while I'm driving. I've seen some really crazy stuff. I'm definitely not one of those people, but I will honk at you if you're going too slow in the fast lane. Another just side note is in Texas in general, we drive like a bat out of hell. And if you're not going 10 to 15 miles over the speed limit and you're in the fast lane, you are the problem and you need to get into the slow lane. So get in the slow lane, let the fast people zoom by. I am a fast person. I do drive a fast car. Nothing is as frustrating as sitting still in a car that was meant to fly. So I would say, as a general statement, in Texas, Texans drive fast. Um, in West Texas, like south of or sorry, west of San Antonio, between San Antonio and El Paso, there's like 7 hours of road to get from San Antonio to El Paso, but the speed limit out there is like 85 miles an hour, and most people go over 100. So I think it's surprising to people that are not from Texas, but native Texans and native Houstonians, we do drive fast. But traffic in general is pretty bad here in Houston. You have seen me in many videos talking about the traffic, and I'll talk about it again here. I plan my day around traffic. I'm not going to attempt to go anywhere far during either two of the morning or the evening rush hour. And on Friday rush hour really starts at like 2:30 p.m. or maybe a little bit earlier, especially if you're going west on I-10 through Katy. It'll be backed up or really jammy between really starting at 2 p.m. So if you're trying to get out of town for a weekend trip on the west side of town, you hopefully can leave work and be packed and headed out of town by like 1 p.m., or you're going to be in some heavy traffic moving out west, and sometimes from we'll say TC Jester and I-10 all the way to 99. If it's full traffic time, you can be looking at 48 minutes to over an hour just to get that one through that one stretch of I-10. Really, at 70 miles an hour, you should be able to get from TC Jester on I-10 to 99 and I-10 in like 21 minutes or 23 minutes. But during traffic time, that like triples or could quadruple. So I know I sound like a broken record, but the traffic is really bad here. I think the only other big city that I hear much as much talk around traffic as I do around Houston is LA. People that live in LA, their whole life is centered around the flow of traffic. I think, even if you live a mile from somebody, the traffic is so bad that you only see them a couple times a year. I don't know. I'm not from LA. I've never lived in LA, but if you are from LA, I would love to hear your comments below. Next is inefficient road construction was specifically this feedback. I can agree things take longer to fix, in my opinion, than probably they should, but I'm also not in construction, so what do I know? It just seems like parts of Houston are always under construction, and sometimes it feels like the Houston construction crews do things that like nobody ever asked for, like a dedicated bike lane that took away a lane of traffic for a major thoroughfare through the loop or through the inside of the loop. In my opinion, that was very inefficient, especially in a newly constructed bike lane. If you see a biker biking in a car traffic lane, which I have seen multiple times. So just general inefficient road construction, get ready for it. Cones, scraped concrete, asphalt, potholes. Potholes, I think were actually, yes, that's something I skipped. Potholes were mentioned 4 times. If you drive some fancy car, a McLaren, a Lambo, a Rari, a Bugatti, Rolly, like if you drive a fancy car, Yay for you. But we have potholes. So if you're very car condition sensitive, you are, it's going to be like boom, boom in some places. I have had many flat tires. I have a very long time client that I always seem to be in the tire shop every time he calls. And he gives me a hard time, but like I drive through new home construction zones. I drive all over town. I have to drive in the road construction. And I do have a higher instance of having tire problems, but thank you, Discount Tire, for always taking care of me. And I have had lesser tire problems after I switched from a sedan to an SUV. The SUV tires are just bigger than sedan tires. So if you're a clumsy driver and you're moving to Houston, and let's say you drive a tiny Lexus, you should consider going to a Lexus SUV, or you should consider going up to a midsize or full-size SUV. You will have less problems with the road conditions. And actually, in storms that I mentioned in my part one video, I am so much more confident driving during storms in my SUV than I ever was in any of my sedans that I drove. So if you are pothole conscious or car conscious or you're a clumsy driver, then I highly recommend you drive an SUV in Houston. Okay, so next is billboards. We have a lot of billboards and they are really ugly, especially if you are driving from like Houston to Dallas, Houston to Austin, Houston to San Antonio, or in between. There are like big, giant billboards, and I have seen uglier and more billboards in other places, especially outside of Branson, Missouri. Oh my gosh, I've never seen so many billboards. But Houston does have like terribly tall and large and ugly billboards. Some of them are well maintained, some of them are not. Whatever. You should probably be looking at the road anyway. But up and down 45, there are a lot of billboards. Down 45 to Galveston, there's a ton. I mean, we don't have, I am not aware of any billboard ordinance on the outskirts. Now, inside of the loop, like, let's say you're moving to Montrose or River Oaks or Rice Military or perhaps West U, you are going to see billboards on the major highways, like on 610, on 59, on I-10. But if you stay in the loop and off of major highways, then no, your visual quality of life will not be affected by ugly billboards. But if you regularly drive on the highways, you will see the billboards. I think eventually you'll get used to them. But that is just some feedback that I received, and I thought that I would make sure to include it. And then lastly, Houston is really, 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 really big. I received this feedback from several people that are not native Houstonians, and I received it from people that are from here, like myself. I cannot stress enough to you how large this city is. I think the only other places that I've ever been in my travels that made me feel like Houston was smaller was Mexico City and LA. And those are really, really big cities. And Houston is large. It's definitely not as big as Mexico City. But Houston, we have a joke. Houston is an hour away from Houston. It could take you an hour to get from West U to Kingwood. It could take you 2 hours to get from the medical center to the Woodlands. It could take you 2 hours, especially if you do the diagonal Sugarland to Kingwood or Galveston to the Woodlands or Galveston to Cypress. The only time I would attempt a cross city journey is in the very middle of the business day or on a weekend. Make sure you are avoiding both of the morning and the evening rush hours. And if you can't avoid this, I am so sorry. I hope you have a great podcast to listen to or music that calms your soul because as We talked earlier, the traffic and the road rage, it is real. It just it takes a long time to understand Houston, and I've been here a long time, and I'm still learning fun facts about Houston. I'm still seeing pockets of town change. I used to like it, and now I don't, or I hated it before, and now I like it because of this, that, or the other, or maybe I helped one of my friends buy a house, or I have clients that I helped sell multiple properties in a neighborhood and I got to know it really well and now I really love it. And before I didn't understand it. Um, in a community this big, it can be really daunting to move here and establish a life and a community and a circle. I love to connect people. I'm a member of Preservation Houston, the Houston Junior League. I spent 10 years volunteering at the Houston Rodeo. I've done a ton of things within the city to meet lots and lots of people. And even as a native, like I still don't know everybody. And I feel like when you move to a big city, it can be hard to figure out like where do I get my hair done? Where do I go to the bank? Where's the closest post office? Oh, I don't like this post office. I like this one better. Like where's the easiest Starbucks to get to in the morning? If you have kids and they love donuts, like where's the best donut place to take them on like special occasions? Or where's the best ramen place? Where's the best, steak place? It can be really daunting, and the only way I think through that is going through that. And I think getting involved in the community would be really important for your overall quality of life if you're going to spend a long time in Houston. When you move here, I think it would be important for you to say, hey, I really like golf, so I'm going to spend time at Memorial Driving Range and see if I can make friends there. Or if you are a single female below the age of 40, you can join the Houston Junior League. Or, well, you don't have to be single. If you're a female below the age of 40, you meet age eligibility requirements for the Houston Junior League, which we are the largest league in the world. We have a tea room. It's super cool. I'm actually in year 7 of volunteering. I love it. I've met so many wonderful people through my volunteer years. Along with the Houston rodeo committees, I couldn't even tell you, I'm going to ballpark it here. There are 250 different committees you can be on, from all the way from working in the bars to working in the stables. There's a committee called Hospitality, but there's also Wine Committee, which I was a part of for 10 years. I think that should be also something that you should be researching is how are you going to build a community? Because even though Houston is huge, it can feel really lonely if you don't spend the time necessary to build a community. I'm actually an expert in building communities, and I have built several communities from like supper club and book club and meeting girlfriends in junior league and all my rodeo friends and my Preservation Houston friends. That's my little section of town, and I love it. But you should find out yours. And there are lots of different clubs I think you can use. Meetup or like Group Me. I'm not an expert in that, so don't quote me. But definitely, definitely, definitely put some thought into your quality of life as a human when you are choosing a place to live. Since I've been here so long, I would qualify myself as an expert in helping you do this, especially when it comes to figuring out the neighborhood that best fits your lifestyle. So if you found this video because you're doing a lot of research ahead of a big move to Houston, Texas, I would be honored at a chance to earn your business when buying or selling a home. My name is Mariam Hejazi. I've been helping people buy and sell residential real estate for over 12 years, and I have been loving Houston since 1987. I hope you found this helpful. And if you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments below. Please consider a like or a subscribe, I would be forever thankful. And stay tuned for my next part in this video series where I talk about all of the good things about living in Houston. Until then, see you later. Bye.